Let's meet some coaches from ICF Philippines. Every day for the entire duration of International Coaching Week, we will meet a couple of coaches who specialize in different types of coaching methodologies. An advocate and practitioner of systems thinking, Theory U, and team psychological safety, Dada de Leon Salud is a professional coach and a certified action learning coach from the World Institute of Action Learning. One of the coaching approaches that she uses is systemic coaching and constellations. This helps individuals and teams unpack systemic complex challenges into simplified insights that deliver sustainable benefits to clients. Dada, how are you? It's so nice to see you.
Wow, thank you for having me here, RV. It's a pleasure.
And I'm really excited to talk about the kind of coaching that you do. This is not something that I hear a lot. I hear that you are a systemic coach. So I was wondering, for the benefit of the audience and me, because I haven't really heard of systemic coach that much, could you tell us what exactly that means?
Okay, let me start by saying we all belong in a system. No one works in isolation, so all of us is affected by another person or the environment where we exist, right? Whether you are an individual or in a group, everything is interrelated and interconnected. So, being a systemic coach offers a practical awareness of setting aside one's own perspective in relationship to the other elements in the system. So, we have to take note that there is no one objective truth. Your truth may not be the same as my truth. So, systemic coaching is a coaching process that opens and reveals many aspects of the numerous perspective one could have. And for a coachee to be able to obtain several adequate perception about a particular issue, you have to take into consideration relational situations. So, systemic coaching considers all the elements in the story in a coaching conversation. So, for example, the challenge is the relationship with the boss. So, the elements in a coaching conversation could be involving the boss, the coachee, and the challenge being experienced. So that's how a coaching conversation happens in systemic coaching.
Dada, I hear that, I hear different points of view. I hear something like the word implies systemic. We're looking at a system. And
Yes.
I was wondering, from your experience, like, how is systemic coaching different from, let's say, one-on-one coaching or the kind of coaching that everyone is more familiar with?
Okay. So firstly, systemic coaching looks at four ways of knowing. And what are these four ways of knowing? The first one is cognitive knowing, where we access information from mental, intellectual, and cognitive capacity. So among the four ways of knowing, this is something that we are very familiar on because we access this information from the educational system that we are in. So when we access information, we interpret events and experiences in a logical sequence, such as, for example, strategic planning. So, in strategic planning, we use cognitive knowledge to access information. So, I said four ways, right? That's the first one, cognitive. The second one is intuitive knowing, which involves opening up to perceptual experiences beyond the five senses. So, paying attention to hunches, insights, and ideas that emerge. So, what's beautiful in accessing hunches or intuition is that it's often spontaneous and unexpected. And this is where the aha moment, most of the time, of the coaches come from. So, cognitive. The next one is intuitive knowing. And the third one is what we call the emotional intelligence. So, emotional intelligence looks at how one feels in a coaching conversation. So, these are rich sources of data that we can get from the coachee, like happiness or sadness or disappointments during a coaching conversation. So that's something that is coming from the heart. So there is intelligence there. So cognitive, intuitive. Then the next one is emotional. And the last one is what we call embodied knowing. In embodied knowing, we get information from body sensations. What are you really feeling at the moment about ourselves, about others in the system, and our environment? So this particular type of coaching accesses four ways of knowing in coaching the individuals as well as teams. So human behavior cannot be attributed to any singular cause. But this arises from the dynamics within the system or the field that the coachee is operating in. I think that's the niche that a systemic coaching can bring about in a coaching conversation.
Wow, that is so interesting. I mean,
Yes, it is.
so I'm thinking of somatic, like what you feel in your body. Wow,
Yes.
amazing. So I'm
Very.
wondering, Dada, like, how did you get into systemic coaching?
I went to Coaches Rising, if you're familiar with that website, wherein I started being interested in somatic coaching. You're right. I started being interested with how the body sensation is bringing about information in a coaching conversation until somebody in my Theory U practice by Otto Scharmer invited me in this particular workshop, which is called, actually, it's called Systemic Coaching and Constellation. It has nothing to do with the stars and the moon, but it's about constellation, it's about body of system, body of knowledge. So how did I get to know about this? This is from practitioners of Theory U in the ULab 2X that I attend. And in that particular community, this is something that we use, like the 4D mapping or the 3D mapping. It's something that is very, very important in looking at the current system, all the people, all the elements in a system, the current structure, and also that's the first structure, and then we evolve into a second structure. That's where the provocations come from. You will be able to know the emerging future through access of the systems from the current system to the future state of an individual or an organization. That's what you call 4D mapping.
So, Dada, I know that aside from systemic coaching, you're also certified on multiple other methodologies. So I'm curious, like in terms, whenever you, let's say, use systemic coaching as a methodology, like what kind of fulfillment do you get from it compared to other types of coaching?
Oh, all the methodologies that I've been in are gives me aha moment. Not just me as a coach, but in this journey of being a systemic coach, it's also one way of looking at myself. It's a journey of looking at my blind spots because when I deal with my coaches, I also introspectively look at myself. Where is my journey? Where are my blind spots? Maybe I have blind spots. And for you to be able to become an effective systemic coach, you need to be really, really aware of yourself. We're not perfect. We're all works in progress. But then this systemic coaching is able to help me access through the intellect, through my emotions, through my body sensations, and also through my emotional, what I'm feeling at the moment. So the aha moment is not only looking at myself and my blind spots and being able to direct my coaches, the coaches who are involved in the conversation, into their aha moment. Why? What's happening in a systemic coaching conversation? It usually elevates stuckness, stuckness, identifying them through a coach's feelings or emotions, bodily sensations, cognitive information, hunches, and insights during a coaching conversation. For example, I had one coachee whose problem is, why am I not in the work that I want to have? I want to have in the very near future. Why am I in this state? So using systemic coaching approach, the person and looking at the system, the current system that he has, he was able to identify, oh, this is something that I need now to bridge me to my future state. So therefore, I'm okay to be at this state right now, which it's very necessary to bring me to the future state that I want. So it's actually very iterative. It's something that brings a person to know the emerging future or what the future is calling you.
So that sounds really exciting. I mean, especially when you talk about the emerging future, Dada. And so I'm thinking, like, for anyone who might be thinking of trying out systemic coaching, either as someone who wants to be coached by you or someone who wants to get into the field of systemic coaching, like, what words of advice or wisdom would you want to share with them?
So if you want a tool that simplifies complex issues, systemic coaching is a good tool to use. So if you are interested to become a systemic coach and to look at the broader perspective of a system, then systemic coaching is for you. So if you are interested to access more information other than the cognitive, if you're interested in knowing what the body sensation is telling you, or the intuition is telling you, the hunches is telling you, and the emotions are telling you, and to be able to transform conversations with your coaching, then systemic coaching is for you.
So, Dada, thank you so much for sharing your time with us to tell us a little bit more about the world of systemic coaching. And this is such a great way to celebrate International Coaching Week because they get to meet different types of coaches, such as yourselves. So, anything maybe that you would want to say as a final word to all of those who are watching this video right now?
So as a final word, I think no one really works in isolation. So systemic coaching usually illuminates and highlights blocks or repeated cycles in individuals and teams that allows you to actually magnify them, realize that these are blocking you, and unlock future potentials. So this is a great way to do coaching. So I highly recommend that you get into it as well.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dada.